Very good morning to all. I will be discussing some topics in power electronics, high voltage and electric propulsion. This is an important subject in R&D engineering course. So nowadays, the ship is electric propulsion is used in the ships, and power electronic computers are mainly used to drive the ship motors. So let us first discuss what is power electronics. So power electronics is a field which combines power, electronics and control systems. Power engineering deals with the static and rotating power equipment for generation, transmission and distribution of electrical power. Electronics deals with the study of solid-state semiconductor power devices and circuits for power conversion to meet the desired control objectives. Power electronics may be defined as the subject of application of solid-state power semiconductor devices for the control and conversion of electric power. Simply we can say it's a subject that deals with power equipment for power control. So basically in power electronics, the power converters can be classified into four types. The four types are rectifiers, choppers, inverters and AC power controllers. Rectifiers, as we know very well, this is the AC to DC converter. Choppers are, it converts fixed DC to variable DC. Inverters, it is mainly used for converting DC to AC. And AC power controllers, so it is a AC to AC converter which is used to convert fixed frequency to variable frequency. So mainly AC voltage controllers, cycloconverters are coming under AC power controllers. Basically the power semiconductor devices, it is broadly categorized into three types: power diodes, power transistors and thyristors. We know very well in electronics, we might have studied the diodes, transistors and thyristors. So here the ratings are very high. It can be able to handle in terms of kilovolts and kiloamps. So and also it can be able to operate with a power capability of 30 megawatt. So that's why these devices are called power devices. So mainly in thyristors, first we discuss about thyristor. Thyristor is a 4-layer, 3-junction PN semiconductor switching device. It has 3 terminals. These are anode, cathode and gate. SCRs are solid-state devices. So they are compact and they possess high reliability and have low losses. So in thyristor family, SCRs, many devices are there. SCRs, ICT, many devices are coming under thyristor family. Even though many devices are available, the SCRs are mostly and widely used one. That's why SCR has the name of thyristor. So many places we can say instead of thyristor, SCR, thyristor both are synonymous to each other. So this is the basic. Now we discuss about the basic construction, operating modes, and some importance of this SCR. So here the construction diagram is a simple schematic diagram to show. It consists of alternate pre-end layers. So it has 4 layers and 3 junctions. So this is junction 1, junction 2, junction 3. And also we know, so already I said, it consists of 3 terminals: anode, cathode and gate. It is a unidirectional device. That is, always the conduction is from anode to cathode. And it is a symbol for SCR. So the symbol is it indicates anode, cathode and gate. So let us discuss about the VA characteristics. It's a very important one. VA characteristics of thyristor. So here this is thyristor. So we know, so thyristor has 3 terminals: anode, cathode and gate. So always know for forward biasing. First, forward biasing is very important. First, forward bias this SCR. Since anode and cathode is a given supply. Apart from supply, anode cathode supply, here gate is also given via this battery and variable resistance arrangement. So, anode cathode supply and gate supply. So, both are necessary to turn on the SCR. Next, the VE characteristics. This is the actual VE characteristics of SCR. So, this VE characteristics or operation of SCR can be explained in 3 modes. So, the 3 modes are reverse blocking mode, forward blocking mode, and forward conduction mode. These are the 3 modes: reverse blocking mode, forward blocking mode and forward conduction mode. In reverse blocking mode, These are the three modes of operation. SSR, this operation of SR can be explained with the help of these three modes because as I showed, the three modes are reverse blocking mode, forward blocking mode, this is called off state, and forward conduction mode. The reverse blocking mode, cathode of thyristor is made positive with respect to anode. With the switch open, thyristor is reverse bias. So that is cathode is having higher potential. Cathode is connected with the higher potential when compared to anode. So if cathode is connected with the positive terminal, then J1 junction, as we know very well, as I explained, thyristor has three junctions, 4 layer and 3 junction. Junction J1, J2 and J3. If cathode is connected to the positive terminal, then J1 and J3 will be reverse biased. Junction J2 is forward biased. If J1 and J3 are these two junctions are outer junctions, if these two junctions are reverse biased, only the small leakage current of the order of few milliamps only flows. As the thyristor is called, in this stage, the thyristor is called reverse biased and it is in blocking mode. It is called as reverse blocking mode of operation. If the reverse voltage is increased at a critical breakdown level called reverse breakdown voltage VBR, an avalanche occurs at J1 and J3, that is at the reverse bias junction, avalanche occurs and the reverse current increases rapidly. And that graph I show you. Due to rapid increase in reverse current, the thyristor may get damaged. So this is called this mode of operation. This characteristic is called reverse blocking mode. Here, this cathode is made positive with respect to anode. So junction J1 and J3 are reverse bias, J2 is forward bias. If you increase the reverse voltage, then at one voltage called breakdown voltage, avalanche occurs, then breakdown the reverse current increases rapidly. This quadrant or this mode is called reverse blocking mode. So it is only small amount of leakage current will be flowing. The next one is the forward leakage, that is a forward blocking mode. In forward blocking mode, the forward anode to cathode voltage is positive, but there is no gate supply given. If anode to cathode voltage is positive, then if the voltage is increasing at one level called forward breakover voltage. VBO is called forward breakover voltage. At this voltage, avalanche occurs and it comes to on state. From off state to it is transferred to on state condition. That mode is called forward conduction mode. Then the forward current increases. So as I said, the second mode is called forward blocking mode. In forward blocking mode, and is positive with respect to cathode. With the gate circuit open, the thyristor is said to be forward biased. Junction in this mode, junction J3 and J1 and J3 are forward biased, J2 is reverse biased. As the forward voltage increases, as I shown, forward voltage increases at the level of VBO, then junction, reverse bias junction, J2 will break down, then connection starts. When forward voltage is less than VBO, thyristor is in off state only, that is called high impedance state. Thus, the thyristor acts as an open switch in forward blocking mode. The next mode is called forward conduction mode. Thyristor conducts current from anode to cathode with a very small voltage drop across it. Thyristor can be brought from forward blocking mode to forward conduction mode. By these two ways, we can bring the thyristor from forward blocking mode to forward conduction mode. First one is by exceeding the forward breakover voltage, that is VBO. And second one is by applying a gate pulse between gate and cathode. Mostly the second method is a preferred one because if you are increasing the anode to cathode voltage to the level of that is VBO is actually the final rating of the SCR. If you increase the voltage till the final rating, the SCR may get damaged. So always the second method is preferred. The second method is apart from anode to cathode voltage, some gate pulse is also given between gate and cathode. So here different methods are there to turn on the SCR. The different methods and important methods are, the first one is forward voltage triggering, second is gate triggering, third dV by dt triggering, and fourth one is side triggering, the last one is temperature triggering. In forward voltage triggering, as I explained, this gate is open circuit, only the anode to cathode is connected. Anode is connected to the positive terminal and cathode is connected to the negative. So the J1, J3 junction will be forward biased, J2 is reverse biased. If you increase the anode to cathode voltage at one voltage called VBO, breakdown occurs, then there will be conduction from anode to cathode. That mode of turning on SCR is called forward voltage triggering. That is, the forward voltage is applied between anode and cathode with gate circuit open. G1, G3 are forward biased and J2 is reverse biased. Then avalanche breakdown occurs at the junction J2. Then VAK increases. The conduction of current continues even if the anode cathode voltage reduces below VPO till IH will not go below IH. IH is a holding current, where IH is the holding current of the thyristor. The second method is called gate triggering. As I said, this gate triggering method is mostly employed for turning on the SCR. This is the simplest, reliable and efficient method of firing the SCRs. First, SCR is forward bias, then positive gate pulse is given between gate and cathode. The magnitude of VPO, that is forward breaker voltage, is taken as final voltage rating of the device during the design of SCR application. Then apart from forward biasing the SCR, positive gate voltage is applied between gate and cathode. Always know the cathode L layer is heavily doped as compared to gate layer, and also the gate layer is always placed near to the cathode layer. Then when gate supply is given between gate and cathode, then P layer, that is gate P layer, is flooded with electron from cathode N layer. Some of this electron may jump to the junction J2. As a result, the width of J2 breaks down or conduction starts at J2 junction. As Ig increases, VPO reduces with a decrease in which decreases the turn on time. Duration for which the gate current is applied should be more than the turn on time. Power loss is less in this case. So this is for gate triggering. So it clearly this picture shows if we increase the gate current, then the amount of forward voltage applied will be less. So at this point, the gate voltage is less. So for that, high value of forward voltage is required to turn on the SCR. Again, if you are increasing the gate current, this amount of forward voltage will be decreased from this level to this level. For this, gate current is again more than for the particular corresponding forward voltage will be less. For IGT again it will be less. So from this graph you can understand if you apply more amount of gate pulses, we can reduce the forward voltage. Mostly the forward voltage is given just to forward bias the SCR. So the gate pulses are mainly required to turn on the SCR. The third one is the dV by dt triggering. This method of this is also one of the methods to turn on the SCR, but it may lead to destruction of SCR, and so it must be avoided generally. When the SCR is forward biased, junction J1 and J3 are forward biased, J2 is reverse biased. So it behaves like a capacitor. So that is J1 and J3 is acting as two conducting plates, and J2 is J1, J3 is two conducting plates, and J2 is acting as one insulator. It is like a capacitor arrangement. So this J2 is known as a junction capacitor. So if you increase the rate of change of forward voltage, instead of increasing the magnitude of voltage, junction J2 breaks and it starts conducting. So here, since we are considering this case in dV by dt triggering, that J1, J3 are forward bias and J2 is reverse bias, it is considered as capacitor. In capacitor, the charge stored as Q equal to Cv. If you differentiate both the sides, dQ by dt equal to Ia, then this becomes C dV by dt. We know very well from this, again is directly proportional to dV by dt. So if you increase dV by dt, the anode current will increase. The next one is the temperature triggering. During forward bias condition, we know J2 is reverse biased, so leakage current will flow. The leakage current is temperature dependent. If you increase the temperature, the leakage current will also increase, and it produces a heat dissipation of junction J2. When this heat reaches sufficient value, J2 will break down and conduction starts. And some disadvantages are there in temperature triggering. If you increase the temperature, then the device may get damaged. This type of triggering causes local hard spot and may cause thermal runaway of the device. This triggering cannot be controlled easily. It is very costly as protection is costly. The last one is the light triggering. Inner P layer. So actually the gate is connected to the inner P layer. If inner P layer is irradiated, then 3 charge carriers are generated. Now if the intensity of the charge carriers are increased above certain value, then it leads to turn on of SCR. Such SCRs are known as light activated SCR, LASCR. Latching current. These are the two important terms in SCRs, that is latching current and holding current. The latching current is defined as minimum value of anode current required to turn on even if the gate signal is removed. Even if the gate signal is removed, it can maintain connection. The next one is the holding current. It is the minimum value of anode current below which SCR will be completely turned off. So far we discussed about the power electronics. In power electronics, what is the many devices are available in the power electronics, that is thyristors, IGBTs, power MOSFETs, triac, many power devices are available. So we have seen, so what is the power rating, voltage rating, current rating of all the transistors, thyristors, all those things. So these power electronic devices are mainly used for controlling and operating the ship, that is a motor which drives the propeller. So let us see the application of power electronic converters in electric propulsion. So first, what is electric propulsion? So here, the electric propulsion, let us have some view. That is electric propulsion of ship is dominated by variable frequency drive. It is called VFD, variable frequency drive technology based on power electronic converters. Nowadays, all the ships are that is electrical operated. So it is a variable frequency drive is deployed. So this variable frequency drive consists of many power electronic converters. So these power electronic converters are mainly used to control the speed of the motor and control the speed of the propeller. The VFD converts the fixed line frequency power to variable frequency power at the motor terminals. The frequency which may vary to match the required propeller speed during various phases of ship operations, such as approaching and leaving a port and while cruising at various speeds. Electric propulsion in passenger ships and navy warships offers minimum noise and vibration, maximum usable space for three passengers. It is fully developed in cruise ships where it has opened up usable space for passenger cabins to bring greater revenue to owners. A common electric propulsion package fitted on many passenger ships consists of a 21 megawatt gas turbine driving a 21 megawatt generator that powers a cycloconverter or pulse modulated VFD with a 20 megawatt synchronous motor or an advanced induction motor. The US Navy is committed to electric propulsion for surface ships and is investing additional efforts to develop a common technology that is adaptable to submarine as well. Electric propulsion technology changes the way the ship transfers power from the main engine, that is prime mover, to the propeller, and the way it manages and it distributes electrical power to both the propulsion and non-propulsion modes. It does not change the primary power source of the ship, which remains the diesel engines, gas turbine or steam turbine. Electric propulsion, however, is presently used almost exclusively in icebreakers and floating offshore oil platforms and is becoming more common in passenger and car ferries. Other kinds of commercial ships now being built with electric propulsion include shuttle tanker, pipe and cable laying ships and research ships. Electric propulsion with a powered motor is a norm at present for cruise ship. The powered propulsion motor is mounted in water beneath the ship. It is used extensively in cruise ship and is being considered for navy ships as well. Since the power design is dominated by the motor and its cooling system, the newly developed compact motor technology is the main technology enabled for electric propulsion. Most navy ships at present are powered by gas turbines that drive the propellers by means of heavy reduction gears and shafts. In electric propulsion, instead of turning gears, the turbines are directly driving the electrical generators at a high RPM. The electrical power is then transmitted by cables toward the stem of the ship to the motor drive, which modifies the frequency and voltage for the propulsion motor of the ship to operate at a desired low speed. The electric motor then drives the propeller at low RPM. The ship with multiple propellers has multiple electric motors, motor drives and cables all located inside the hull as shown in the next figure. So here, this is a mechanical propulsion system. Here, the prime mover is connected with the reduction gears. So with the help of the long shaft, it is connected to the propeller. So here, the maintenance and speed adjustment, so everything will be difficult in this type of mechanical propulsion. Now these things are removed, the reduction gears, the long metal shaft, everything is removed in electric propulsion simply. So based on the power electronic converter, it is everything, the controlling the speed and driving the motor, everything will be simple. So this long shaft, this nowadays it is replaced by the cables. So you just think the maintenance of this shaft, removing the shaft and again placing. So when compared to this, the cable maintenance is very simple and it is very easily can be replaced. So here, it's a prime mover, it's a simple way of representation. It's a prime mover with the help of the reduction gears, it drives the propeller. So this apart from this dedicated ship service generators, it gives power to the bus and from this bus and the ship service. Electrical power can be distributed to all the places. This is about the mechanical propulsion system. Next, we discuss about the electric propulsion system. This is the electrical propulsion system actually. So here the reduction gear is completely removed. This prime mover drives the generator. This generator is connected to the motor with the help of the cables. This is C represents a cable and this motor drives the propeller. So when compared to this long metal shaft, this cable is very simple and it is maintenance, everything will be simple. It's electrically, this motor is electrically controlled. So with the help of power electronics, this is the first topic. We discussed about power electronic. In power electronic, the main device used for conversion is a SCR. IGBT, many devices are there. So among many devices, we discussed about the SCR. So any type of power electronic, there is a power electronic converter is consisting of many devices. IGBT, MOSFET, SCR, any type of devices can be used in the power electronic converter. So the motor is driven by the power electronic converter. So this is an electric propulsion system. So space, occupation and the speed, change of speed, everything will be maintenance, everything will be simple in electric propulsion in compared to mechanical propulsion. Here this is a propulsion generator. So it supplies the bus bar and from the bus it is given to the motors. It is supply will be given to the propulsion motors. So there is a separate ship service generator. So apart from the propeller, so for remaining loads, so some generators can be used for rest of the ship. It's as I said, it's a pod propulsion system. Nowadays, the electric propulsion system is a pod propulsion system. So the pod propulsion motor is located in water outside the hull in the same housing that couples it directly to the propeller. That is, the pod motor will be directly connected to the propeller. So this will be in the water. So which eliminates this pod system eliminates the stem shaft. It gives a significant flexibility in placing the ship components where they offer the greatest benefits to the overall ship architecture. Integrated electric propulsion, that is IEP. The propulsion of a ship typically requires 75 to 85% of total power on board. In electric propulsion, this power capability is devoted exclusively to ship propulsion and is not available for non-propulsion use, even when the ship is stationary or traveling at low speed. The ship wing, that is integrated electric propulsion, in contrast, has all engines producing electrical power at a common bus that is used for both the ship propulsion and the non-propulsion electrical loads, as shown in the next figure. This pod motor will be immersed, it will be in the water. So this is we have this generator plus frame mover arrangement. It is connected to the motor with the help of the cable. This is a pod motor, so it will be immersed in the water. So the main parts of electrical propulsion system is a prime mover. As we have seen in the previous diagram, so prime mover, it consists of prime mover, generator, propulsion power distribution system, propulsion motor drives, propulsion motors, propellers, non-propulsion power distribution system. So let us see one by one. That is for prime movers. Prime movers on commercial ships, particularly those with lower maximum speeds, are generally diesel engines. US Navy submarines, the engines are steam turbines, obtaining steam from a nuclear reactor. So this prime mover will drive the generator. This generator converts all mechanical power received from the prime mover to the electrical power of high speed. That is which high speed engines, that is high power, high electrical power. This is a propulsion power distribution system. Distributes electrical power to propulsion motors and other propulsion equipment. Propulsion motor drives. It modifies the frequency and voltage of electrical power, which is a main factor for changing the speed as needed for the electric propulsion motor of the ship to operate at a desired speed during various operating phases. The propulsion motors, it converts electrical power from the motor drives to low RPM mechanical power suitable for the propeller. Propellers run at low RPM and propel the ship through the water. Non-propulsion power distribution system. It distributes the remaining electrical power to various non-propulsion electrical loads on the ship. This system includes additional motor drives, cables and switchgear. So here we will say about azimuth power drive. We have seen what is power drive. So specifically it is called azimuth power drive. In azimuth power drive, the propeller is connected directly to the motor shaft. The fixed pitch propeller is driven by the variable speed electric motor. That is a VFD. So which is a submerged pod outside the ship hull, and the pod can rotate 360 degrees. This is a main advantage of azimuth power drive. It can rotate for all the 360 degrees. So the ship can move in any direction. So it reduces the use of rudders, all those things around its vertical axis to give propulsion thrust in any direction. Thus, the ship does not need rudders, stent triangles, thrusters, or long shaft lines inside the hull. The propeller of the pod usually faces forward in the pulling mode. This reduces the brake and the hull resistance and results in higher fuel economy. The propeller can be located further below the stern of the ship in a clear flow of water, providing greater hydrodynamic and mechanical efficiencies. The power rating of the motor fitted in azimuth power drives ranges from 5 to 30 megawatt. The motor type can be 12 volt, 4000 volts synchronous in the higher power range, or 640 volt induction in the lower power range. That would run at 150 RPM and 15 Hz. The stator has either a single or a double winding type motor as required for the liability specification. It depends on the usage. The electrical power is transferred via cables and slip rings in the slip ring unit. Separate slip rings are provided for the propulsion motor stator windings, excitation and control. The azimuth power propulsion is used in cruise ships, icebreakers, navy ships, oil tankers and offshore rigs. This is the diagram of azimuth power drive. So you can freely rotate for 360 degrees. So here this pod, this pod motor. So this pod motor is connected to the propeller directly. So it can rotate for all the 360 degrees. It minimizes it reduces the use of rudders. So this itself can rotate for 360 degrees. There is no need of rudders in ships. The pod design eliminates, these are the advantages of azimuth pod drive. So the pod design eliminates many additional systems, including rudders and steering gear, propeller shaft and a line shaft from the engine, rotating and stationary shaft, bulkhead seals, stud and line shaft bearings, redundant machinery. So these things can be eliminated, that is reduced. So these are the main advantages by using azimuth pod drive, which saves space. By reducing these things, by removing these things, we can save the space by replacing long shaft lines with the electrical cables. Mainly, the electrical propulsion system, the long shaft lines are replaced by the electrical cables. So that is a very big advantage. So maintenance is very simple, and also it reduces the space. It's a main advantage in the electrical propulsion system. But with the use of this azimuth pod drive, it can this rudders can be removed. This rudders it limits the uses, and it can rotate for 360 degrees. So it is a very big thing in electric propulsion system. So let us discuss the layout of electric propulsion system. overall structure. It starts from the prime movers driving the electrical generator. We know very well, already we have seen in the diagram, there is prime mover which drives the generator. The generator is via the cables, it is connected to the motor. Then the motor drives the motor may be synchronous motor or induction motor. So this motor drives the propeller. So we have seen azimuth quadrant, it can rotate for 360 degree, it can eliminate the use of rudders and it reduces the space and the maintenance is very simple in electric propulsion system. So it starts from the prime mover which drives the electrical generators which feed power to the main switchboard. From the generated power will be given to the main switchboard. Then the power is then fed via the propulsion transformers because the generated power will be very high power, so it has to be stepped up or stepped down with the help of these transformers. It can be in star format or delta format. Then from the transformer, it is given to the drives. So then from the drives which is giving input to the azimuth quadrant motors. There is an independent control network that supports the propulsion power distribution network. The emerging trends in power drives is the voltage source, that is a VSA, voltage source inverter, that is PWM, base voltage source inverter with the permanent magnet motor in lower power ratings and advanced induction motor in higher power ratings. So two types of motors can be used, that is synchronous motors and induction motor. This can be used. So, layout of electric propulsion system. So, the prime mover runs the generator. See, from the generator, it gives the transformers connected. So, it can be stepped up or stepped down. It's a propulsion transformers. So, first the generator gives supply to the main switchboard. Then from the main switchboard, it is a transformer getting supply. From the transformer, then this supply is given to the frequency converters. These frequency converters are connected to the AC cord. This AC cord is nothing but it consists of motors. This motor is directly connected to the propeller. So this frequency converters, it is for electronic converters. So this drives this AC cord. Propulsion system operation. So in this example, I'll show the diagram. In this example, so each 12 megawatt 3 kV propulsion motor has two separate 6 megawatt stator windings and each half winding is supplied from a 6.6 bar 3 kV propulsion transformer and a static 6 pulse synchro converter. This converter. So again I am saying this here this power electronic converters plays a major role here which drives the motor. This propulsion motor is driven by this 6 pulse synchro converter. The 24-pole motors have a shaft speed range of 0 to 145 revolutions per minute, controlled from the converter output frequency range of 0 to 29 Hz. By using two converters feeding two separate stator windings fitted 30 degrees apart, a 12-pulse shaft torque is achieved to minimize the shaft vibration. A more complicated arrangement of supply transformers and converters can produce a 24-pulse shaft torque. Motor brushless excitation is also obtained from the AC bus bar. Apart from giving supply to the stator windings, so the motor windings can be excited separately from the AC bus bar via 6.6 bar 0.44 kV static transformer, a thyristor controller, an AC to AC rotary transformer, and a set of shaft-mounted diodes for the final conversion to DC. Usually, this is a power diodes are used for AC to DC conversion. The related physical arrangement of the main components in the propulsion system are shown in the figure. The control throttle stations for both shafts are installed on the bridge. The engine control room is easier at local positions. At sea, the shaft speed commands are set from the bridge and repeated in the VCR, that is engine control room. In both, the control position is transferred to the VCR. The local control position is mainly used for testing and maintenance duties, but also acts as an emergency control station. So this diagram shows this generator which is supplied to the main switchboard. From this, it is given to the propulsion transformer. Then from the propulsion transformer, it is given to the synchro converter. So where the controlling operation for the speed related. So by varying the pulse width, that is pulse width modulated inverters are used. So with the help of that, you can adjust the pulse width by adjusting the pulse width. So the output of this synchro converter can be controlled. So controlled output can be given to this propeller motor. So this motor may be a synchronous motor or there is permanent magnet motor or induction motor. This motor is connected to the propeller. So by getting controlled output from this inverter, this can operate at control. So the speed can be controlled. So all the controlling operations are performed by this drives. This is synchro converter. So the using this drives the power electronics plays power electronic converters are used in that. So based on power electronic converter, the output is given to the from the power electronic converters. The output is given to the AC motor, which drives the propeller. So we can any control speed, we can control the speed. Any adjustable speed can be adjusted with the help of this drives, AC drives. Separately, this excitation for exciting this wave winding of this synchronous motor, you can get supply from the bus bar and it can be given to the diode rectifier. Diode rectifiers are very used for AC to DC conversion. It can be given to the excitation of the field winding. So same arrangement is given here. So for two stator winding, separately the supply is given via the synchro converter. It is given to the motor and it is this motor is driving the propeller. So these harmonic filters are mainly used to remove the unwanted signals in the AC. This is a shipboard power system architecture. It's a generator 1 and generator 3. It's a generating power to give to the main switchboard. From this schematic diagram, it is given to the transformer, propulsion transformer. It is given to the drives. This drive may be AC drive or DC drive. This motor is AC motor. So AC drive will be this controls the operation of the motor. So it is connected to the propeller. So this control operation can be applied with the help of this drive, which is driving the motor. Here also there is a schematic diagram which is shown. It is the rating of this generating supply is given to the main switchboard. It's of rating 6,6.6 kilovolts. It is given to the propulsion transformer. So here you can, if you want, you can set down the voltage which drives the which is given to its output of there is an output of this transformer AC, which is given to the AC drives. This drives output is given to the motor, AC motor. So this motor drives the propeller. So apart from driving the propeller, here for ship service also, so supply can be taken from the transformer and it is given for remaining part or other loads can be used. Selection of the command position is determined by the switch and the propulsion console in the ACR, and emergency push button telegraph giving C speed commands is available at each control station. The ship propulsion regulator and the side thruster regulators can be combined into a master joystick controller to give you overall direction control of the accurate maneuvering input. In a synchro drive system, as shown in the figure, the computer receives a command input and many feedback signals like voltage, current, power, frequency. These are the feedback signals received. But the obvious regulating item is the actual shaft speed. Mainly, you are concentrating on the shaft speed. So based on the shaft speed only, the propeller will run the ship. The principal parameters to be controlled are the size of the motor, stator current, and motor frequency to set the shaft speed. These are the main factors for shaft speed. In addition, the DC motor field current has to be continuously controlled from the propulsion regulator via the excitation converter. So here, so this is a rectifier. So this is from three-phase bus bar. Supply is given to the rectifier circuit. It is a electronic converter. So here the rectifier it converts AC to DC. This is switched for soldering and it is given to the inverter, PWM inverter. Here this DC is converted to AC. This AC is given to the propulsion motor, which is connected to the propeller. So this motor drives the propeller. So here the shaft speed, shaft position, everything. This is taken as a feedback signal and it is given to the computer. So based on the required speed, this will monitor the shaft speed, shaft position, and it is given back to the computer. Then it gives signal to the rectifier circuit. It is closed. It is like a closed loop control system. So by regulating everything, by regulating the speed, by giving the feedback signal and regulating and again giving feedback signal to the rectifier circuit, we can control the speed that is required. Speed can be achieved with the help of this closed loop control system.